I got
So good evening and welcome to the May 12th, 2026 Zoning Board of Appeals regular monthly meeting for the Village of Ossining. This is a public hearing that is quasi-judicial. We're using a hybrid format for today's meeting, like always, both in person and online via Zoom. So members who are in the room, if you are going to speak, just make sure you have signed in with your name, address, affiliation. Members who are attending via Zoom may use the raise hand feature, so that would be in the bottom left hand of your corner, bottom left hand of your screen. If you're attending by phone, you can press *9 at the appropriate time, and that will function as a raise hand. We'll see that, and we'll let you in when it is time. If you want to email comments during the meeting, you can use plan@villageofossining.ny.gov. And Maddie will see that, or someone on the staff will see that, and we can bring that into the hearing. So this meeting will be recorded and a transcript of the meeting will be available at a later date. All right. This goes for everybody. Please limit your comments to the matter at hand. Everything else in the world, wait till coffee time later. Roll call of the board, if we may.
Okay, Erica Matias. Here. Olga Montes. Here. Brian Branel.
Here.
Corey Black. Here. And Chair Aparizic.
Here. And I forgot to mention that joining us today is Maddie Zahach, our assistant village manager, Joe Gostinelli, who is the building inspector for the village, Jamie Kane, who's the board secretary, Taryn Rainey, our assistant land use attorney, and that is it. So first on the agenda, can we get a motion to approve last month's minutes as distributed with the revisions?
Motion to approve Olga.
Seconded, Brian.
All right, we have Olga and Brian. If there are no objections to approving the minutes, thank you. Minutes are approved as distributed. So moving on to new business of the board, we have Spring Street, 287 Spring Street, ZBA 08-2026. Applicant is seeking an area variance for front and side yard setbacks for the proposed construction of a front porch with a roof and a rear yard deck. Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm the engineer that developed the plans, so I'm here representing the client, Kaiman. So essentially,
Just give your name, please.
my name, David Guerrero. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, it's just a replacement of the existing front porch and the existing rear deck. All those setbacks are all pre-existing to what it was before. The deck and the porch, as you can see in the pictures, are not in good condition and need to be replaced. The main difference between what's existing and what's being proposed is that there's currently a rear roof over that rear deck, but their intent is to remove that when they redo the rear deck. And just the location of of those stairs in the rear deck is right now it's an L, and they plan on making it straight. And it's still within the setback, well within the setbacks, as you can see in the zoning table. And that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. Don't mind us. We're not ignoring you. We're looking
No,
at
you're good. No
the
worries.
screen. Is it possible? There we go. Existing. Is it possible to see the existing plan or existing layout?
You want to see the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It'd be easier for digest. Yeah, according to your zoning sheet, same footprint.
Same, oh, yeah, everything's.
The question with the stairs though, the stairs are gonna go exactly to that outside edge of the L-shaped porch.
So now, as of right where it's, right where you see where it's gonna go down, now it's just gonna go to the rear. So it's not going to that.
Oh, it's still an L-shape, but going
Yeah,
back.
and now it's back to the rear, exactly. So, it's still well within the setbacks. It's 79.9, I believe, and you need 30 or 40. I can tell you exactly, but I'm sure you can see it right there.
Yep.
That's really the only main change there as far as the structure itself, just the stairs location, but still that side yard setback, still everything remains the same. So, yeah, changed.
Okay, thank you. Joe, do you have any comments based on what the applicant shared with us and what you saw on paper?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's just the area variance for obviously the front yard because the location of the house. There's really not much they can do. It's gonna be it's not gonna be 30 feet to the front yard setback, and then the side yard because the lot is pretty narrow, but they have plenty in the rear yard.
Great. Any questions from the board? All right, if we could get a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open, Corey. Second, Erica.
We have Corey then Erica. There's no objection to opening the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Do we have anybody here to speak on this application other than the applicant? Anybody online? You get to see, we can't see anyone.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Nope.
Cool. All right, let's, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close, Erica. Seconded, Olga.
Erica, then Olga. There are no objections to closing the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Last chance for questions? All right, can we go through the 5 factors, please?
Absolutely. So in determining whether or not to grant an area variance, as the board knows, it must balance the benefit to the applicant against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. In doing so, you must consider 5 factors. The first factor is whether granting the area variance would produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or create a detriment to nearby properties.
I'm going to say no because it's an in-kind replacement for safety reasons and aesthetics, but also occupying the same footprint.
And the removal of the roof in the back almost lessens the intrusion.
Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the variances.
No, the applicant's not extending the stairs, they're just replacing them, so it looks like the rise and run of those stairs is exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah.
That definitely.
Agreed.
And whether the requested variances are substantial.
For the side yard, I would say numerically, but not impact.
Whether the proposed variances will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district.
I'm gonna say no. They're replacing it, they're improving on the conditions.
However, their impervious. A lot of.
And they get it safer.
And finally, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, which is relevant to the board's decision, but not necessarily determinative.
No,
Seems like it's just weathered over time, so it's not in their control.
well, the side yard setback proximity is not their fault because it's a very, very narrow lot. And I think that's what's causing this variance request to be necessary. That seems like we're going for a motion to approve, so could I get a motion to approve CBA 8/2026?
Motion to approve, Erica. Seconded, Corey.
Erica, then Corey. Could we get roll call vote, please?
Okay, Erica Matias. Olga Montes.
Yes.
Brian Grano.
Yes.
Corey Block. Yes. Tara Burris.
Yes. All right, here you go. It's gonna be about, it's usually about 2 weeks or a couple weeks for you to get the letter from the building department, but thank you so much.
Great, thank you, I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so for continuing business of the board, we're gonna move 34 State Street ahead of Jug Tavern because it should be a relatively simple hearing. Welcome back.
Good evening.
No, yeah, no, the mic will grab you.
Yeah, I'll go. So, for the record, my name is Janet Garris. I'm a partner with Delta and Weingarten Weiss Whitaker here this evening on behalf of the applicant. We haven't been before you, I think probably since January or February. We took a few months to make some modifications to the project to not only address comments of the village professional staff and consultants, but also to ensure the financial viability of the project. So a couple of things moved, and I will introduce our architect in a moment, and he can walk us through the modifications to the project. Essentially, we took the building that's to the west, we moved it a little bit further west, we increased the area of the courtyard in the middle. We're able to put some surface parking there and to eliminate some of the below grade parking, which reduced the number of parking spaces a little bit. But we're still well in excess of what is required. So I don't know how much of your recollection you need me to refresh, but just to do that. Again, 34 State Street, it's the redevelopment of the site with a project consisting of 150 multi-family dwelling units and 3 buildings, 283 parking spaces now, and the partial reconstruction of the Smith Robinson House. The 2 buildings that are towards the front, towards State Street, are intended to be condominium buildings to be offered as affordable under the state's new affordable homeownership program. The building that is to the rear is intended to be a market rate rental building. So since we were here last, we have increased the number of variances that we're seeking from the board. So I just want to talk first about the two variances that we had previously requested from you. One had to do with the reduction in the size of the units, and those units are sized based on what the state requires. So that's why we're seeking that variance. You've granted similar variances in connection with a project being developed by an affiliated entity of the applicant this evening, similar variance. The other variance had to do with height, and that had to do with working the buildings into the topography. I'm pleased to say that by actually pushing the building a little bit west at the rear, we've actually reduced the height of that building as it's measured in accordance with your zoning ordinance. And we have actually reduced the magnitude of that variance. I think previously, excuse me. Previously, I think it was 59.5, and I think now we're at 53. The remaining variances that we are now seeking from you have to do with the below grade parking structure and the width of the parking spaces, which in some instances, we're seeking a reduction from 9 to 8.5 feet. That reduction is to accommodate the posts that are columns below grade. And they don't reduce the entire width of the parking space. So, it's only as you're pulling in or out of the space that it's reduced by about 6 inches. Once you're in the space, the width of that space is actually 9 feet.
This is similar to the project, just up the street. The one that was concrete, they stopped building for a while because they did things they weren't supposed to.
Both this Ossining and Ossining.
Exactly, same situation. Columns are either at the front or the rear of the vehicle in one spot.
And then the other variances have to do with a reduction in the width of the drive aisles, and that's to be able to accommodate those parking spaces below grade.
Do you know how much of a reduction there was in the drive aisles?
Yes, from 24 to 22 feet. And there's an access lane for the parking area reduced from 12 to 10. And Michael will show you in just a moment our drawings. And then the final variance we are seeking is a reduction in the minimum required setback for a driveway from the property line. The requirement is 2, we're going to 1.6. I believe that the driveway itself is actually 2 feet from the property line, but the curbing for that encroaches into that 2 feet. So I don't want to waste your time any further this evening. I'd like to introduce our project. It's having Michael Bedoviano standing behind me, and he can show you on the drawings exactly what it is about it. Our entire consulting team is here to answer questions that you might have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Bedoviano from Architecture. I'm the architect on this project. Proud Ossining resident and very excited to be back in front of you with what I think is a much improved project from the last proposal. As Janet mentioned, one of the sort of happy things that came out of having to be a little bit more creative when it comes to making the building more efficient from an economics point of view is that we eliminated the large parking structure that was underneath the entire site. So with that, it allowed us to lower each wing in the building. And if you wouldn't mind sharing our set of drawings.
Sure.
And one of the upfront like G sheets. Because we're no longer trying to get both buildings up on top of this parking structure that made sense at the grade. We're able to lower them by about 4 feet. So we're still compliant with the village's 4-story requirement. If you keep going, I think these are the civil drawings.
You want the
Architectural ones. Yeah. And that one. You can zoom in on that section that's up at the top of that sheet.
whatever you want.
Yep, can you move up so we can see the drawing at the
This one.
back up? So the building, that's cut looking north. State Street is on your right-hand side and then the Hudson River's on the left. So grade, the topography drops off pretty significantly, moving from east to west. So always, the intent always was to work with the topography of the site and not have to create giant retaining walls, which we all know is a potential problem here. So, so the building is 4 stories on the street side. Grade moves and kind of slopes down, and we're kind of following that with the building. So the rental building on the left-hand side of this image is 2 stories of parking deck, and we can look at the site plan to show how you get in and out of those. But those building levels align with the condominium buildings on the right-hand side. So what the variance is really for is when you calculate the average grade plane, because grade is falling off so far on the left-hand side. You can see, Matt, if you wouldn't mind zooming in on maybe like the right-hand side where the Smith Robinson house is. You can see there, like that red line below the parking level, that's average grade. You can see how far below, like where grade is on the State Street side. So that's what's driving the height variance, is just that grade falls off so far on the left-hand side. And then the number of stories, if you scroll the other direction, is because by the time we come out of the ground on the other side, we're now 6 stories up in the air. So that's where what's driving the height and story variance.
So there's no underground there's not the whole structure underground now, it's built into the buildings.
Yeah, so the parking, the below grade or underground parking happens below the building footprints. And then we have, and if you zoom down a little bit.
Zoom down.
Sorry, scroll down a little bit. This is the surface parking lot that's in between the buildings. So this looks fairly similar to the last scheme. You know, we have to accommodate fire truck access and deliveries and handicap accessibility, all those fun things out here. But in large part, that looks the same as what I did before. It's just the subsurface parking lot is no longer below there.
Fire's already looked at it and they don't have problems with the access or any, or the width of anything.
Yeah, that's correct.
The last time you guys were here, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank as to what the question was, but I know the answer to that question was the buildings are being considered one structure because the parking lot connected them. Now that that parking lot is not there or underground, we're looking at 2 buildings.
It's still one project, one building. They do stack on top of one another. Maddie, if you go down a page to the area calcs, you can see all the plans together. So there you can see, so on the right-hand side, that big L shape, that's for the condominium building, and that's 100 spaces for 100 units. So we're trying really hard to at least get a space per unit in the garage. And then there's 2 levels on the left-hand side for the rental building, and one of those levels sits below the leg of the condominium parking lot. So they're kind of doing this like funny Jenga thing in section, if that makes sense.
How many, if you could remind me, how many market rate apartments are there, the non-condos?
So market rate is 50. The condominiums is 100. Market rate rental 50.
Yeah, so the market rate rentals are getting 3 spaces plus per unit?
Yeah, so the surface lot in between is shared, so we're still above,
Okay, got it.
we're still above what's required by Ossining's zoning code. It's just, we were trying to at least get a space in the garage, like per unit for the.
Per space.
Yeah, so there'll be additional spaces assigned to that building, they just exist out in the courtyard space.
The other question, which is obviously not for today, it's general for when we can finally make a determination after architectural review and all the other steps, is you provide in your, what's the title of this document? The development plan, it's like the presentation with line of sight view from the street. We have line of sight from pretty much everywhere inside and outside the development, except from the side or the rear. And I'm wondering if you guys would be willing to provide that. For example, the rear is not line of sight, it's bird's eye view. So it's not how people would actually see it. It's if we were flying a drone, what it would look like. And since when we're considering height requirements, it's how people on the streets see the buildings. We have that for front and inside the development, but not rear. And,
So would you wanna see that from Hunter Street, or where would the line of sight there be?
Hunter Street, and I would probably say something reasonable would be the train station or something behind the property, because people are only gonna see it from the rear, from down on one of the lower streets.
Yeah, from Hunter, you most likely won't see anything there. Just because the trees and stuff are all staying along Hunter, so you'll get a glimpse of it, yeah, from the other side of the tracks, probably, and down by the train station, would be my guess.
Do you think that's necessary if you can only see it so far away? So there's not really any impacts to adjacent properties then necessarily, so it's kind of.
I disagree, and I disagree because I travel that area so much. I'm curious as somebody coming into the community as a point of contention, if there was one, it would be nice for you to be able to show a rebuttal to that question of what it would look like.
I think we're happy to show you that. I just also want to point out that we're talking about 5 feet in terms of the requested variance. And so I think that from that distance, that 5 feet is going to be very difficult to discern. So we're happy to show you that, and we're happy to demonstrate that it doesn't present much by way of impact at all.
I think it's less about the 5 feet based on the average grade. It's if the building without the 5 feet to someone already looked massive, then the 5 feet is just on top of massive. I know that's not a proper way to say it, but we've had people ask these questions before, and we have previously required applicants to do the same thing. So I think it's fair. Yeah.
Totally understand, and you know, again, you will not see those 2 levels. The parking structure will be really kind of hidden by vegetation and other things, so you really won't be able to see that difference.
Yeah.
So we're happy to show it to you.
Yeah. All I got, because I know we can't do a determination today.
If I walk through any of the other variance items, or I just wanna give the board opportunity to ask any questions.
I'm assuming that you're requesting the variances for the parking spaces for only the specific parking spaces and not all of the parking
Correct,
spaces.
so one's within the garage.
Great,
Next to the column.
next to the
Next
columns.
columns, yeah, and
Because the last property that had this, the variance was for specific spaces, not the whole place, and then wherever you need them, you figure it out. It was like.
Just where the columns are, correct?
yeah, we can.
We've seen it, I mean.
yeah,
I
There was
don't
an
need to
image
see
in,
it.
I believe, the color that did a good job of kind of showing.
Yeah, but it's in our set too.
Is it?
It's like all the way at the end.
Yeah, it's fine, I think.
And just to, maybe correct one thing that Janet said, the drive aisle variance is not within the parking garages. We have enough width there to meet the zoning code where we're asking for that relief is out in the courtyard. And the reason for that is just we don't need it, it's to reduce the amount of impervious surface. There's still enough room for cars to maneuver around in there, accurately. So in the garages themselves, we have the 24-foot, drive aisles.
They're similar for Water Street, so.
Yeah. So you can see, where the columns impact, so there's this diagram that just shows like car doors can still open and there's still plenty of width there.
Great.
Any more questions from the board?
I'm just curious why the 1 bedrooms have to become smaller.
Same size the last time we were here. They're smaller, again, as Jenna mentioned, we're within the HCR recommended guidelines. It's just, in order to create enough differentiation in the unit mix. And we can still accommodate all of the required, bedroom dimensions, washers and dryers in these units. Everything still fits. We just, to meet the village's minimum, unit size in combination with where we are with the 2-bedroom unit, those units start to get really close in dimension. So the idea was to keep them kind of proportionate to what the rental, the sale price will be.
I think we're one of the municipalities that has like a close conflict between state requirements for affordable housing and what we've said. That's.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we wouldn't have any. We would love the state handle it, we wouldn't have any regulations, but we do.
So that's where that is born from. Every major development we've had, that's.
It comes up
Yeah.
quite a bit.
It makes sense when I haven't heard anybody say that proportionally, that argument, and that makes a lot of sense, but like, why would somebody pay significantly more for a 2-bedroom that's almost the same size as the 1-bedroom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Zillow friendly. That's all the questions I have.
Yeah, I don't need that much.
You can certainly reopen the public hearing.
Great. Can we get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
Motion,
Go ahead, Brian.
motion to open the public hearing.
Seconded, over.
Brian and then Olga, if there's no objections. Public hearing is now reopened. Any hands online? None. Did I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Motion to adjourn, Cory.
Corey and Erica, with no objections. Public hearing is adjourned. Do we have to motion to adjourn the application?
Yes, and just again, to remind the board, the planning board is still conducting a secret review, so once that's complete, the board will be able to act on these.
And that's about what we're, you for the next item. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn this application until the next scheduled meeting?
Motion to adjourn the application.
Secondly, Brian.
Older than Brian, without objection. It is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night.
We are hopeful.
We're getting close. We're getting
Yes.
Just go, thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Good night.
Next up and final is ZBA 7/2026. This is for 74 Revolutionary Road, as known as the Jug Tavern Building. Applicant is seeking reapproval of use variance for permit residential apartments to support a museum located in a single-family zoning district.
This is the village zoning board meeting. Ready for the town board meeting, it's the board.
Sorry, this is all good.
Please.
This is an application to reapprove a use variance that has expired. The original use variance was granted in 1990. It has been renewed in 5-year increments ever since then. The variance had lapsed, it wasn't renewed in time, so now the applicant is here seeking.
Welcome back.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, you first.
Me first?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm here by the recommendation of the zoning board the last time I was here, when we came to renew our 5-year variance. And pretty much every 5 years when we've done that, the question of a permanent variance has come up. And what was suggested last time was that we seek a conditional permanent use variance for the Jug, as long as the Jug continues to operate as a local historic museum, serving the community and the neighborhood, which we are doing. And we were asked to look at the 4 conditions, I believe. And I believe that we still meet all 4 of those. I don't know the word for them, but
Factors.
factors, thank you. That we meet the 4 factors. So I put this in front of all you guys.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the addendum because that is exactly what we asked for, and I think you did a really good job of summarizing everything. One thing I wanted to do, because as was discussed last meeting, we are considering a permanent variance with a condition. So since that is extremely rare thing for us to do or even consider, I wanted to go back to the original 1990 minutes from the meeting where this was determined that it would happen, and then every 5 years it would continue to happen. Because every extension since then, including the most recent one from 2015, or sorry, 2020, seems to indicate that they just relied on the 1990. So I think it's important that we address the following. Where did it go? Okay, so I'll substitute names because I've already read it and I know the difference between the applicant and the board members' names. So the board set a 5-year, or sorry, the board said a 5-year time limit does not give the zoning board much control. 5 years may be too long. The applicant said the apartment is to generate income for the museum, which we know. The minute there is sufficient money for the museum, the apartment will be removed. The apartment is not part of the long-range goal for the building. And then it goes on to discuss the rehabilitation of the building. Mr. Petrillo, the board said the variance, or the applicant said the variance will go with the property only as long as it is Jug Tavern of Sparta Inc., et cetera, and we know we can't tie the variance to an organization, we can tie it to a specific use. So I'm just curious, since the original intention was to not have the apartment be permanent, what changed to make that different?
I think that they were overly ambitious at that time, thinking that that the membership dues or whatever money we could collect would sustain what we need to maintain that building. I think certain costs, and especially in the last few years, the building's over 200 years old, and we've had to lift the building, replace the foundation, we've had to replace all the doors, we had to replace the roof. We are in the process of replacing the heating and cooling system. So I think they were looking at that moment when they were doing the sort of upgrades that they were doing to actually create an apartment upstairs, and they put in everything new. They weren't looking at future costs like that. There also, a lot of this happened during the bicentennial, and there was a big zeal and a lot of people really getting behind these sort of historic projects and restorations. And the neighborhood, has since turned over. Probably we're on our third turnover, and although we have a very vibrant membership and we have people coming all the time to our events. We just had an event last weekend where we filled to capacity. We had another walking tour last weekend, and we had over 30 people, which is a record. We try to actually hold it to 20 people. We also do a lot more programs, and we like to offer the programs for free. We ask people to make a donation, but in order to keep up the building, to maintain the building, and our insurance costs, I actually didn't look back to see what the insurance costs were in that original plan, but our insurance costs have gone up sort of way higher than they were back then. So the cost of maintaining and all has changed, and I just think that they were hopeful to sort of turn the upstairs into offices and the downstairs into the meeting place, and it's just not anything that we've been able to do.
Does Jug Tavern have a basement or sub-level of any kind?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean by that.
Does the Jug Tavern, does the building have a basement or sub-level?
No, it's 2-story, except and it's built into a hill. So the meeting room is on the ground floor, and you can enter on the ground floor,
So that-
or The apartment enters, you go up a driveway up a hill. That's the second floor and the entrance is behind the building, actually.
It is somewhat underground, right? Because you said it's built into the hill.
Yeah, three walls of it are underground, but the front
Okay.
wall is exposed.
I have a purpose, I promise. I have myself been a resident of the area and witnessed flooding in that
Right.
very specific corner. And I was wondering if you were affected by those
They-
floods.
They were affected years and years ago before I moved there. Was it Hurricane Floyd, I think, that actually took out the garage of the building across the street and all that. But then the village actually did a lot of work and underground piping and we have not, and it also, the road used to go right in front, almost right up to the front of the building. And then they created sort of a lawn and a grass part and put in a lot of drains and things like that.
Okay.
We have not had that kind of problem since.
Yeah, Jug Tavern was spared, but a few years ago, that same house, their
Yeah,
garage was taken
right.
out and the
Again.
wall was taken
That
out.
poor house has been through a
Yeah.
lot. I've watched it in my
Yeah,
20 years.
yeah. And we didn't have, I mean, knock on wood, we had no problem.
The reason I ask is I know that those kind of things factor into the costs of maintaining the property and your insurance if
Yeah.
they consider it a risk area.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I was asking for that. Okay.
No, and we have flood insurance as part of the insurance package.
Because I think it sounds pretty reasonable that they thought they weren't gonna need it permanently and time is pretty.
No,
not the case.
Because this is the overriding thing
No,
that
I'm glad
everyone's
you-
relying on. I think it's important to just put on the record because we're so strict with these.
Well, and that's not the case.
I think the board to
Yeah.
distinguish.
Yeah.
Things
This
have
is a
changed
new,
over the
this is a
years.
new variance, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't be relying on that.
No, and
So
I
just for-
I appreciate that because when we look back at that also, especially for me as the president, that was sort of a little bit shocking to see that they thought they could pay it off.
We've had contentious, this is all public, we've had contentious use variance hearings before. And this specific thing is something that could in the future be pulled out. So just wanted to make sure we had it
Thank you.
on the books for the discussion. So the plan tonight, because we have to do the part two of the secret or the EAF to determine environmental impact, we should open and close the public hearing unless we have any other questions. After we do that and we make a positive or negative declaration, which we'll go over in a second, we will then consider the 4 factors, and the major difference between the use variance 4 factors and the area variance 5 factors is the property or the applicant and the property must meet all 4. There's no balance. It's up or down.
Take my challenge.
You franked me well. So any other questions before we open the public hearing?
Just one. I know before you stated that we can't, in the language, make it specific to the Jug Tavern. But we can make the language specific to a type of organization,
This is a great question.
like a 501c3 or I don't know what their category is, but can the language be that it must be this type of
Can we read
organization?
you what,
Okay.
so last meeting, we brought that up and we had asked Taryn to take what we were saying and put it in the actual words we need. And we looked at 2 versions. The succinct version I would like to propose, based on what the board decides, would be the following. Use variance, this would be the condition, if this was approved, this is the condition, one example that we could put on the permit variance. The use variance authorizing a residential apartment on the 2nd floor of the building shall remain valid only so long as the property is actively operated as a nonprofit museum use open to the public on a regular basis for educational, historical, cultural, or similar purposes. The reason that was said is because we can't, it's probably not something we can do to specify a specific type of museum, but museum use in general that has educational and historical value, according to our wonderful council. The residential apartment shall remain accessory to and in support of such museum use, so that it can't be sold and used by somebody else for some other purpose. This variance shall expire if the museum use ceases or is abandoned for a continuous period of blank time. This condition is intended to ensure continuation of the historic museum use of the property, including its prior operation as the Jug Tavern of Sparta, if they were ever to sell it or get rid of it, but shall not be construed to limit such use to any specific owner, operator, or organizational name, because legally, we cannot say that only certain groups can use the property.
Looking at the use as a whole, not the user specifically.
Yes.
Right, so if it were to change owners, if they were to sell the property,
Has to be
the new
historical
organization
museum.
has to provide documentation that they are a nonprofit organization which will run a museum.
Doesn't necessarily have to be, so it is nonprofit, but the reason, one of the other examples had 501c3. 501c3 is a very specific type of nonprofit. Some are or associations, which is a different type, so by saying nonprofit, cover
Right,
all.
the nonprofit, okay. All right.
Is, in trying to be succinct, were those last, I don't know, first two sentences or one, are they even necessary to call out the Jug Tavern and then say it can be other
Good,
things?
good question, what do you
We
think?
don't necessarily have to, and I can tinker with that portion a little bit. I think really the important portion of it is the continuation of the use and the exploration.
Yes, I mean, that language, yeah.
That's just
Okay.
CYR.
I mean,
It
if,
just kind of clarifies.
so that we could, if we decide today, if we wanna do the exact language, this condition is intended to ensure continuation of the historic museum use.
You can just cross out,
Property?
including fire operation, which I've never.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Perfect, good suggestion. So, Taryn had suggested 12 months, I had rebutted and asked about 6, and the reason I asked about 6 months is if the property is abandoned or not used or ceases function for 6 months, that's the same time frame that we have for residential properties, which is the same district this is in, it's a residential district. There has to be an expiration of some sort if it ceases operations, and the question is, should it be 6 months, should it be 12 months, should it be something different? What do you guys think?
So you're saying that currently for residential.
Like, say,
Jug Tavern,
Stop. Oh,
no, what's the current, you were talking about the current.
variances specifically, if you have a variance on a property in a residential district and that property is abandoned or ceases to have tenants for 6 months or more, it automatically dissolves the variance, the variance
So-
goes away.
The one counterpoint I will raise to that is the village's requirements for the discontinuance of non-conforming uses, that's a 12-month period.
Oh, is it?
That's, okay, that was what I was gonna say.
So at the end, my only opinion is that it aligns with something else the village does in those districts so that it's easy.
I agree.
So is it 12 months then, do you think?
I think 12 months would be consistent with how the code kind of treats outlier uses.
Okay.
And I think 6 months, you know, sometimes contracts take a long time to complete and hand over and then getting something back up and started, like 6 months is a pretty tight time frame, I think, for people to have a good year. Especially like, say they cease to exist, but they're trying to sell it for a couple months, you know,
Mhm.
give somebody an opportunity to have time to get in there.
I'm good with the 12 months if that's the,
Well, the whole point, the variance may expire in the future and that may revert to a residential use.
Yeah, 12 months makes sense.
So same language as was read, so we don't have to read it again, we'll just refer to the condition, except we are striking, including its prior operation as the Judge Tavern of Sparta, and the period will be 12 months. So if we decide to use that later, we'll just refer to it as the condition.
So does that work for you?
Yes.
All right, so could I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion open, Corey.
seconded, Olga.
Corey and Olga? There's no one in the room, so no one online, nobody online. I have a feeling, based on our discussion last month, that we might be making a decision tonight, so could I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing, Brian.
Second, Erica.
Brian and Erica, without objection, public hearing is closed. So the next thing we need to do is review the EAF Part 2, this is a Part 2 secret.
Yes, so this is an unlisted action under seeker. So the board does need to conduct an environmental review and come to a determination of significance before it can formally vote on this application. And so the applicant has provided the first portion of the EAF, it's with the agenda materials, I reviewed it, I think it's correct. So now the second step is for the board to walk through this, it's called a Part 2. It's just a series of questions about the potential impacts that may or may not be generated from the project. And so, Maddie, if you would mind sharing that document?
Okay.
And who's gonna walk us through?
I'll, and Corey's very familiar with this.
Probably review, so.
So there's 11 questions.
And just so you know what happens with this, there's, we're either going to say it has a negative declaration or a positive declaration. Negative declaration would mean that little to no impact environmentally.
There's no potential significant adverse environmental impacts. And if the board adopts the negative declaration tonight, that means the board can proceed to a vote this evening. And the opposite of that is a positive declaration. That means there is the potential for significant adverse environmental impacts that would require a more intensive environmental review process that could take up to about a year, if not more. And so this is the short EAF. And so there's two options for each one. It's whether the item would either have no or small impact or moderate to large impact. So the first question is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
Should we print out copies? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the land?
No.
No.
Again, this is an existing condition, this is just a rule.
The building has been there for hundreds of years, the use has been there for the village since 1990.
Should we make that clear?
Can you guys see the screen okay, or is it too bright?
No, it's fine.
Perfectly.
That's good?
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking or walkway?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy as it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public and private water supplies,
No.
public and private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic
If
resources?
it wasn't there, yes, but no,
No.
The opposite, no.
Arguably denying this would impact.
Yeah.
yes,
So,
Yeah.
will the proposed action result in adverse change to natural resources?
No.
no,
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
No.
So the board didn't identify any moderate to large impacts. So if you scroll down part 3 is where you would really elaborate on that. So since,
so, do you want me to?
so I'm just gonna say, since, you know, in my professional opinion, again, this is an existing conditions, been here for the building's been here for hundreds of years, the apartment's been there for over 30 years, this is just reestablishing a use that was previously permitted, this is really administrative more than anything. So I do think that a negative declaration would be appropriate in this situation. But I'm happy to hear your thoughts.
Does anybody disagree with this being determined as a negative declaration?
No.
So the next step would be, could we get a motion to adopt our findings of a negative declaration based on the EAM?
So moved, okay.
Seconded, Brian.
Could we get a,
Just to clarify, that was a motion to adopt a negative declaration, finding there's no potential significant adverse environmental impacts associated with the
Yeah.
motion.
thank you for
A
the.
lot of words, I know, a lot of words.
I would have completely
So,
messed it up.
so in the roll call vote, a vote of aye or yes means you agree to a negative declaration.
Okay.
We get a roll call vote, thank you.
Erica Matias. Yes. Olga Montez.
Aye.
Brian Grano.
Aye.
Ooh, yes. Corey Block. Yes. And Tara Edwards.
Yes, all right, that's 5-0, so that is just for the EAM.
Yeah, that's for your secret portions application.
Yeah, so. Of the, this would probably fall into the essential character of the neighborhood portion of these variants, I'm not sure, but there's that. Okay, so the last thing that we have to do, unless there's any other questions, is we need to go through the 4 factors.
Right, and again, as Kyle had mentioned, there's no balancing. If the applicant does not demonstrate each and every single factor, then they're not entitled to the use variance. So just keep that in mind as you consider this application. And so to obtain permission to establish a use of property that's not otherwise permitted, the applicant must prove what's called unnecessary hardship. To do that, there's the 4 factors. The first factor is that the property is incapable of earning a reasonable return of initial investment if used for any of the allowed uses in the district, which is the dollars and cents proof that the applicant had provided.
Since this is a building on the National Historic Register, you cannot just knock it down, which means you have to use the existing structure as it stands. So you can't just build a high-end home and then try to rent it or sell it for a lot of money. So they only have use of the apartment, and I would say based on the financials that they provided us, which are competent, which we don't always get, it seems to make very clear sense that there would be no new financial hardship to the organization. Or to the property.
I agree.
Next factor is that the property being affected is unique or at least has highly uncommon characteristics.
I think it's historic value, yeah, it's proven that it's highly unique.
It's one of the only, it is not the only, but it's one of the few as outlined in their addendum that's actually historic building in Ossining, so. I would call that pretty unique. And the fact they've already been operating in the function that we're trying to approve for 36 years without incident.
This is a unique condition the board doesn't frequently say for use variances.
Yeah.
And they have a unique civic engagement with the community that I think is unparalleled and unique to Sparta, to the Joe Tapper in Sparta.
Okay. Factor is that the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
It is the essential character of the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's not
There's no
truly
changes.
historic districts.
There's no changes to the current character of the neighborhood.
I will say from driving by that for the past 8 years, it wasn't until I came here that I actually understood that was a full-time apartment. Because you don't really know, based on how it's used, that there's any edges, I'm like, oh, it's an office or.
And I would submit for the board's consideration, granting the variance and allowing the apartment to remain would help maintain the character because it allows them to maintain the junk tavern. Without that extra income, it could fall into disrepair or something.
Right.
Along those lines. Okay, then finally, the hardship is not self-created. And again, this isn't the case where it is determined here.
It's definitely not self-created because the property is over 200 years old and it's needing to keep that up and maintain that.
Property has been dependent on that income, right? So we're just continuing on.
I also think that even though the variance expired due to the lapse in 2025, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extensions every 5 years, an original declaration in 1990, and then an updated, which we just updated the 1990 version of environmental review by doing new, So I think there's a lot of precedent there that while this is not pro forma, they are just doing what we asked them to.
The need for the variance still exists despite that technical issue with paperwork. So, okay, so those are the 4 factors the board had to consider for a use variance.
Rarely, but based on what I just heard, we're looking at an approval of use variance. But can we do the condition and the use variance as a single vote, or do they?
So you could say if the board is so inclined, it's a motion to approve the use variance subject to the condition previously enumerated.
Yes, with just a special call out, even though it's in here, but this will be a permanent variance.
I was just about to ask, how long are we doing this for?
Permanent, if you all agree, as long as it satisfies this condition.
So if the property is sold and becomes a shopping mall, it loses the entitlement to the residential use. If the museum closes for more than 12 months, it loses the right, the residential use. So it does have triggers for expiration.
And even though that doesn't mean it will never be a museum again, it allows an opportunity for another applicant to come before us if it's going to change hands and been abandoned for 12 months or
Right.
to review it, revisit it. All right, can I get a motion to approve this application with the condition as outlined?
Motion to approve this application with conditions.
Second, Erica.
We have Olga and Erica. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Erica Matias. Olga Montes.
Aye.
Brian Grant.
Hi.
Corey Lot. And Jared Torres.
Hi, all right, congratulations. I would say wait 2 weeks for that letter, but you're already there and, yeah. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Missed you, Doug.
You froze at the right time.
I think I froze for a minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Bye.
Have a good night.
You
So
too.
we have no other business and we have no adjournments, so take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn, Brian.
Seconded. Go ahead. Corey.
Brian and Corey, if there are no objections, meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.